a young man named Ray Garrity receives an official message confirming his selection for a national competition known as the Long Walk. The announcement states that the contest is broadcast live across the entire country and that the winner will receive a massive cash reward and one wish of any kind. Later, Ray prepares to leave his home. His mother drives him toward the military compound where the event begins. Along the way, radio reports mention the aftermath of a devastating war that divided the nation and left society under a strict military regime. His mother turns off the radio. Uneasy, she pleads with Ray to reconsider joining, but he quietly insists on going. When they arrive, soldiers direct the incoming participants to a fenced staging area. Ray hugs his mother goodbye, promising to return, though she holds onto him tightly before letting go. He steps into the crowd of other selected contestants, 50 young men in total, each dressed in the same issued uniform and marked with their assigned numbers. Soon, Ray meets Peter McVreese, a calm, friendly participant about his age. They exchange names and brief words before joining the line. Around them, the other boys prepare in silence. Among them are Arthur Baker, kind and talkative; Hank Olson, confident but short-tempered; Gary Barkovich, abrasive and cynical; and the youngest, Curly, visibly nervous. Moments later, the contest commander, known only as the Major, appears. The crowd falls silent as he walks before the assembled line. He calls each contestant forward to collect their numbered metal tag, warning the others not to move until their turn. When all 50 are tagged, the Major addresses them. He tells them that the country, weakened since the last war, has fallen into idleness. According to him, the Long Walk was created to restore discipline and strengthen national pride. He explains the rules. Each walker must maintain a minimum speed of 3 miles per hour. Dropping below that speed results in a warning. If a walker receives 3 consecutive warnings, the soldiers escorting them will execute it. Warnings can be cleared if the walker continues 3 full hours without another mistake. The march will continue without rest day and night until only one participant remains alive. The Major ends his speech, raises a pistol, and fires into the air. The Long Walk begins. The walkers move forward on a wide road lined by soldiers and military vehicles. The pace seems manageable at first, and a few of the boys chat nervously to ease the tension. Ray glances at the speed monitor strapped to his wrist, making sure to stay within the safe limit. As the miles pass, the group starts to settle into rhythm. At the 5-mile mark, Curly's face tightens in pain. He stumbles and slows, earning a warning from the soldiers trailing behind. Peter and Ray try to encourage him, walking backward for a few moments to help him regain pace. Curly pushes forward, but moments later cramps seize his leg again. He falls a second time, unable to recover before his final warning expires. The soldiers raise their rifles and fire. Curly collapses, becoming the first casualty of the march. The line of walkers hesitates, stunned by what they've witnessed, but the Major's voice soon comes over a loudspeaker, ordering them to keep moving. Hours later, conversation resumes in low tones. Ray speaks briefly with Baker about why they entered. Baker says he joined for the prize money, while Ray answers that money isn't what matters most to him. Ahead, the writer Harkness jots down names and numbers in a notebook, explaining that he plans to write a book about the experience if he survives. The heat of the afternoon wears on them. At mile 17, a participant near the front collapses with a seizure. The soldiers approach, count his final warning, and end his life on the spot. The marchers watch in silence. Only Barkovich laughs, saying they should be glad each time someone dies, since it improves their odds of surviving. The others glare at him, but keep walking. By nightfall, they've reached 35 miles. The pace slows under exhaustion. Ray drifts into a half-sleep while walking, dreaming briefly of home and his mother's voice. He stumbles, receiving 2 warnings in quick succession before Peter shakes him awake. Peter warns him to stay alert, and Ray apologizes, shaken by how close he came to death. Later that night, the walkers climb a steep incline. Several fall behind and receive their final warnings. Gunfire echoes behind them as the line presses forward. By morning, fewer than 20 remain. Among them, Ray, Peter, Baker, Hank, and Barkovich continue side by side. When one of the soldiers offers water, they accept quickly before marching on. Around mile 100, the Major's convoy returns. He congratulates the survivors and urges them to keep pushing, reminding them that only one will reach the end. At this point, most of the walkers are limping or shaking from fatigue. Soon after, one participant steps off the road, muttering that he's done. He's executed instantly. The others keep walking, unable to look away from the spot where he fell. During a lull, Peter asks Ray why he really joined. Ray finally explains. His father once taught banned subjects, philosophy, art, and free thought, defying government orders. The major himself executed him for treason. Ray entered the long walk to face the man responsible, and if he wins, he plans to use his granted wish to take revenge. Peter warns him that revenge will only destroy what's left of him, but Ray stays silent and continues walking. That night, under pouring rain, the survivors march through darkness. Barkovich mutters to himself, and his nerves begin to break. When dawn rises, he is gone. He has taken his own life. The soldiers quickly confirm his death, and the march goes on. By day 4, only 6 walkers remain: Ray, Peter, Baker, Stebbins, Parker, and Hank. The remaining group moves in silence, their faces blank from exhaustion. When Hank collapses from delirium, Baker tries to reach him, but Ray drags him back before he crosses the danger zone. Soldiers execute Hank moments later. They pass mile 209, still moving. The next day, the group learns that Hank was married. They agree that whoever wins must send part of the prize money to his widow. That night, Barkovich's absence weighs on them. The few remaining talk quietly. One of them starts humming, and soon the others join in to keep their minds awake. As dawn breaks, Ray sees a familiar face in the crowd along the road. His mother, watching from the sidelines. Overcome, he steps toward her, calling out. Soldiers immediately warn him. Peter yanks him back, just in time to save him from execution. Ray trembles and turns away, forcing himself to keep moving. Later that morning, the rain stopped, but the road turned to thick mud, making each step heavier. The 6 remaining walkers, Ray, Peter, Baker, Stebbins, Parker, and Hank's empty place now gone, marched in silence. The soldiers' trucks followed close behind. Engines rumbled. Every few minutes, the metallic voice of the announcer repeated their mileage and pace. By midday, Baker began showing signs of collapse. His breathing grew rough, his steps unsteady, and his nose began to bleed. Ray and Peter reached for him, keeping him upright as long as they could. But Baker's strength faded fast. Knowing he wouldn't last, he took the chain with his numbered tag from his neck and pressed it into Ray's hand, asking him to deliver it someday to his grandmother. Then he turned around, stepped off the road, and raised his head toward the sky. The soldiers fired. The others kept walking. After Baker's death, only 5 walkers remained. The major's car reappeared on the roadside. He stepped out, applauded, and congratulated them for lasting longer than almost anyone in the history of the contest. Ray and Peter stared at him without a word, while Parker muttered under his breath. The major reminded them that the nation was watching and that they represented its strength. Then he returned to his car and followed along once more. By the next evening, exhaustion drove some of the boys to hallucinate. Stebbins, pale and sweating, confessed to Peter that he had caught a fever. He said his body was shutting down, but that he didn't want pity. Peter offered him water, but Stebbins refused, insisting he still had to tell them something before the... That night, around mile 320, Stebbins spoke again. He told Ray and Peter that he had joined the walk not for fame or wealth, but for recognition. He revealed that the major was his father, a man who had abandoned him long ago and never admitted it publicly. Stebbins' wish, if he had one, would have been to live in his father's house as a rightful son. Weak and swaying, he finally stopped walking, whispering a goodbye before the soldiers shot him. For remained Ray, Peter, Parker, and Stebbins' absence between them. Rain began to fall again, heavy and cold. The crowd along the route cheered from behind barricades, their voices echoing through the wet night. At mile 326, the major returned in person, walking briefly alongside the survivors. He smiled as if proud, then reminded them that the rules had never changed. Only one would live. Parker clenched his fists and shouted that the contest was murder. He broke formation, grabbed a nearby soldier's rifle, and fired. The major's guards instantly shot him down. His body hit the ground beside the road, and the march continued. Now only Ray and Peter were left. The last 2 walkers moved in silence through the storm. The soldiers' headlights illuminated their soaked uniforms and blistered feet. At mile 331, the road entered a small town. People crowded the sidewalks, waving banners and flags, shouting the names of the last 2 contestants. Soldiers kept them back as the pair trudged through the noise and lights. Then Peter stopped. He turned to Ray and said softly that he didn't want to keep going. He wanted Ray to win, to go home to his mother, to live for both of them. Ray grabbed him, shouting for him to move. Peter took one more step forward, unaware that Ray himself had slowed down behind him. The soldiers counted aloud, one warning, then another, then the final. Gunfire rang out. Ray collapsed instantly, the road turning red beneath him. The cheering crowd fell silent. Peter froze. froze, staring at his fallen friend. The major approached, calm and smiling. He congratulated Peter for surviving the long walk, declaring him the victor before the cameras and the entire nation. Peter barely moved. When a major asked what he wanted as his prize, Peter replied in a steady voice that he wished for a soldier's rifle. The guards hesitated, but the major nodded, amused, and ordered them to hand it over. Peter gripped the weapon. The major stood only a few feet away, still speaking about glory and endurance. Peter raised a rifle, aimed, and fired. The major dropped instantly. The soldiers froze in shock. Peter let the rifle fall from his hands. He looked one last time at Ray's body lying in the rain, then turned and began walking down the road alone, disappearing into the mist as dawn broke over the ruined country. The walk was over.